I want to make this video really quick to discuss something that has been on my mind. Um, we're going to talk about racism. First and foremost, what I want to say to the world is that I personally have not experienced racism, so I don't know how it feels to be called the N word to my face. I don't know how it feels to be denied something because of my skin color. I don't know how it feels to be treated a certain way, or to be attacked, or to be looked at differently because of my skin color. That's something I have never really experienced before. I don't know if it's because I live in the state of Indiana, even though that state is ran by Republicans too. I don't know if it's because of my upbringing. I really don't know. Maybe my parents, maybe as a child, maybe that's something that my parents had guarded me from, because I do remember coming up as a kid that my parents were very strict. They kept me from going to certain places. They kept me from participating in certain things because they didn't think that I should have involved myself in it. But I just want to say to people, just because I haven't experienced it does not mean that I am oblivious to it. And it does not mean that I am not awoke and aware of what is going on in the world, because racism is here. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it is here. The only difference is people aren't walking around with the white hoods over their head, you know. They're called white nationalists now. They have a special name for them. There's a lot of black people that personally have experienced racism, but for certain black people to sit there and say, well, racism is gone, racism isn't here anymore, it's all in our head, I disagree with that. But there's some black people out there that has that type of mentality, and I have to disagree with certain black people that has that type of mentality. Just people, period, that has that mentality, because that's kind of reaching a little bit. Because for someone to sit there and say that racism is completely gone, I think that people are really trying to convince themselves that it's not here when they already know in the back of their head that it is here. Personally, I have seen racism happen towards other people, directly and indirectly. So I know that it's here. But I feel that minorities, which I really don't like that word, because there really shouldn't even be a such thing as a minority. There shouldn't even be a such thing as someone being low class or poor. I feel that everyone should be equal regardless what skin color they are, because I feel that regardless what skin color you are, we should all be treated as the same. We should all be treated as equal people. Everything should be equally distributed in the proper way amongst all colors of people. That's just my views on everything. But sadly it's not like that. I think that black people are in a very long fight against white supremacy. There are lots of white people that have white privilege. We were all taught this in school. Some of them know about it. Some of them don't even care and know about it. And then there's some of them that want to pretend that they don't know about it. But then you have some, that say that that certain blacks are race baiting, I guess, pointing blame and living in the past and all this other stuff. Look, I feel that it is very important for black people to know history. It is very important for us to know history, for kids younger than us to know history, and many generations that are upcoming to know their history. I think that it's very important for people to tell their stories. I don't think that it is all black people's intentions to point fingers of blame at people, or to point fingers of blame at all white people just because they tell their stories of what they remember. Even the older generations, the baby boomers, what they experienced when they were kids before we even came along as kids. I think it's very important because I feel that if white people can talk about their own stories and their own revolutionary stories and how they made history, then black people should be able to talk about their stories as well. And no, it doesn't necessarily always have to be about being a victim, because I feel like we're living in an era now to where black people should not continue to be a victim to anything. This isn't the slavery days anymore. So instead of being a victim to the system, we should all learn how to fight against the system, because black people, we are in a very long fight against white supremacy. And when I say white supremacy, this does not mean all white people. This only applies to the ones that are taking advantage of the lower class people. But before we can even start anywhere, we have to start with us first. I feel that black people have to start with themselves first before they plan on getting their head above water. I also don't think it's fair for black people to randomly blame the white man for everything either, because it's not 100% the white man's fault that black people are in the position that they are to this day either. I feel like since we all have come such a long way and have came many, many years of rich history, instead of walking around being angry and living in the past, I feel that, again, instead of being a victim, we need to figure out ways to make ourselves better as black people. That's just my own situation about that's my own opinion on the situation. Getting tongue-tied. So, with that being said, I just wish that all of this racial tension it should all really stop, because it's really not going to get anywhere. And if we continue to do this, with it being in 2017, then what is this world going to come to within the next 10 to 20 years? I find it really sad that it is 2017 and we still have two opposite races that still cannot get it together. I find that very sad. I find it very sad. And that's just my whole opinion on everything. I feel that everyone needs to start viewing each other as equal people. That's a start. That is a start, you know. There's been many things that were stolen from black people in the older days from a lot of the white people, but that is not a reason for us to go around getting angry at every single white person and pointing blame in which and every kind of direction, you know, because not all white people, because see, even back in the older days when black people were being treated as badly, there were still white people that were still trying to help black people underneath the table. So I would never in life have the mindset of thinking that all white people are racist, because anybody can be a racist regardless what their skin color is. And I feel that if people can just have that mindset of just viewing each other as an equal, then we can really go somewhere as a country. And we just have to stay focused on just being the best that we can be. And that's just my own opinion on everything.